sports fans, welcome to episode 3 of SG Sports Uncut. I'm your host, Raj Kumar. Uncut is the show that brings you closer to our Team Singapore athletes and coaches. Now, with less than 3 weeks to the 2019 SEA Games, today we'll be speaking to our athletes from Pencak Silat and the sport of diving. From diving, in the first segment, we have the twin brothers, Mark and Timothy Lee, and they are joined by a reigning gold medalist in Ashlee Tan. Hey guys, welcome to SG Sports Uncut episode 3. Mark Lee, we'll get this segment about diving started with you. Perhaps you can tell us how the final year of this decade has been for you so far.
This year has been pretty good for me. Specifically for diving, I think I've grown a lot as an athlete. This would be my 9th year diving, and I think I've matured a lot as an athlete, learning how to deal with certain injuries, learning how to manage the training load and things like that. So I think it's been a good learning curve for me this year.
And how has 2019 been for you career-wise on a personal or job level?
Right now I am studying at SMU, Singapore Management University, and juggling both school and diving can be challenging at times because there's a lot of projects, a lot of presentations, exams that needs to be done. But at the same time, you can't slack off at training because you have goals that you set for yourself. So it can be very tiring at times, very long hours. You wake up very early, you go for your morning session, and then you go to school, meetings, projects, everything. Then you come back for your afternoon session, and sometimes you have to go back to school for more projects. So it can be quite long at times, but I think it's all worth it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get Ashlee Tan into the conversation. What's been keeping you busy over the last couple of months, Ashlee?
I recently started school, like uni. So I started in August. So I've been pretty busy with trying to cope with the new regime of uni and having to balance training at the same time. But before that, I took my break from after A levels. So during the long break, I managed to have some time to travel and train and mostly compete.
Okay. You mentioned travel, and it's travel for both leisure and for sport. So which was your favorite destination this year and perhaps why?
I think my favorite destination would have been to Korea, where we traveled to for World Champs in July. It was my favorite because I really enjoyed traveling to that country because I really liked the food there, the people there were really nice, and overall it was my first World Champs experience in Korea. And it went pretty well. So I enjoyed the trip, and after that our team extended the trip, so we went to Seoul for a holiday.
Nice.
For a short 5 days holiday, and we had a lot of fun
with the guys at
everybody, the whole team.
That's sweet. And with K-pop as well. I'm sure that came into play as well. We'll talk about the World Champs in a second. Let's come to Timothy Lee. And has it been an injury-free year for you? I mean, considering you missed out last year on the Commonwealth Games as you had to undergo surgery.
Yeah, not exactly. I mean, I was recovering from my ankle surgery really well, and me and Mark did very well in the Asian Games last year. But and I actually managed to reach my peak form in April this year. But I think there were 3 main things that caused the injury on my right leg, on my right knee. I think it was overtraining, some flaws in my technique, and overcompensation. Because of the surgery, I think everything was just leaning on my right side.
Right.
So I think that resulted in a knee injury which I had to deal with, and it got quite bad in July after the World Champs. So after that, I just spent a good 2-3 months just really focusing on getting healthy again, and so now I'm back at it again and gearing up for SEA Games.
Okay, so back in the grind. So besides the injury scare, what's been your main highlight so far for the year?
Main highlight for this year, I think the main highlight would be the competition in April. As I mentioned earlier, when I was in peak form. It was a Canada Diving Cup, which is actually a very prestigious event, and me and Mark actually finished in 5th place among very well-known or very renowned diving nations, and we did very well there. So I was really pleased with that one. So looking forward to
Okay. Staying with you, Timothy, and let's talk about the FINA World Championships. As Ashlee just mentioned a few moments ago, in South Korea, the both of you competed in the men's 3 meters synchronized springboard preliminaries. Tell us about your performance and that experience at the World Champs.
Yeah, I think it was a really good experience. I think this World Champs is my second World Champs. The first one was in Budapest
2016.
2017.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So it's always fun and good to dive against Olympic champions and world champions because you really can see where you stand. And not only that, but you actually learn a lot from just competing beside these top athletes. You're seeing what they're doing right in their technique and how you can apply it to your own technique to make yours better. So that's been really good for both of us.
Okay, Mark, what's your assessment of the score of 314.91 and finishing in 19th place? I mean, overall, out of all the...
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Tim said, it is at these kind of competitions where we really get to experience diving with the world's best, the Olympic champions, the world champions, and you get to see how they keep their composure, how they do certain techniques, and you actually pick up some skills from them. Even though we came in 19th place, I think Tim and I were quite happy with it because even at that point in time, we were still dealing with a couple of injuries. And the fact that we were able to dive consistently across 6 dives was something that we were quite happy with.
Okay. Yeah. And you also competed in the men's individual 3-meter springboard prelims. And how would you describe that performance? I mean, you scored 339, I believe, 0.85.
I mean, although that isn't my personal best, it is a score that I'm quite happy with. Usually it is at these kind of competitions where they tend to have a lot stricter judging. So in the sense where even though you get like a dive that can score 7 at a local competition, if you bring that dive over to World Championships, chances are you get like a 6.5, just because of the level of competition that you have there.
Right.
So all things considered, I'm still quite happy with my performance. I managed to dive consistently and I achieved the goals that I set for myself. So.
Tim, what did you think of your brother's performance? I mean, with that performance, he was ranked, I think, 2nd in Southeast Asia with that score.
Yeah, so I didn't compete individual, but watching him from the side, I actually think that he dived really, really well. Like, he had some dives which were like 7.5, 8. Yeah. And getting 7.5 and 8 at World Champs level, it's really, really out there.
It's huge.
Like, even Olympic champions and World Champions, they get maybe 8.5, 9. So to get 7.5 and 8 is really, really, really good. So I think he dived really well.
Awesome stuff. Let's hear from Ashlee, who was also part of the Singapore's 30-member squad, which was sent to the World Champs. 30 is the biggest number to be sent by Team Singapore. You competed, I believe, in 2 events?
Yeah.
Firstly, let's check in with your individual 3 meters springboard prelims. You scored 221.45, finished 39 out of 51 competitors. How would you assess your own performance?
I was quite pleased with my performance for that competition, especially that event, because previously, prior to the competition, I was having some problems with like my technique in terms of like my hurdles and my jumps. So the main purpose of the competition, like competing in the event, was to build my confidence in major competitions and to learn to deal with the stress of competing in such a worldwide big competition. Yeah, so I was quite pleased with how I handled the stress, and I felt that like throughout the competition was mainly focusing on how I felt and how I approached my dives, which I thought I did quite well. And even though the score, like Mark said, it wasn't my personal best also, because like he said, the judging there is much stricter.
Yeah.
But I felt that my dives, in terms of the quality of the dives, it was pretty consistent with my training, and I felt quite pleased with it.
Yeah, I think you did well to finish 7th among the Asian athletes and 3rd in Southeast Asia. So good job in that. And you also competed in the women's 3 meters synchronized springboard prelims. Perhaps you could describe your planned routine together with your teammate Fong Kian. Okay. Were you happy with the final result? You scored 206.49 and finished 21st.
We were quite pleased because prior to the competition, both of us were injured. So we didn't manage to get a lot of trainings together in terms of like for synchro events, you usually have to train together quite often in order to get the timing right and the dives right. So we didn't really get to do much training before that because we were both injured. So I think we did quite well. We were quite pleased with our performance, and it was mainly just to get experience in order to build up for SEA Games this year. So,
okay. Overall, 7 divers were sent to compete at the World Champs. It was only 4 just 2 years ago, and 3 4 years ago. So what does that signal to you as far as the sport of diving is concerned?
I think it's a very good sign because like there's an increasing number of divers who are reaching the worldwide standards, right?
Yeah.
So it shows that we are getting better at this sport, and our standards are going up. Because like in order to go for these competitions, you have to qualify. You have to meet a certain score to qualify. So like a greater number of us are qualifying, which is a good sign.
Mark, adding on to what she said, I think there seems to be a concerted effort to elevate the sport of diving in Singapore. If I'm not mistaken, one of the targets is to win our first Asian Games gold medal in 2026, if I'm not mistaken, 2026. So in order to move in tandem with that same goal, is there one element that you feel the powers that be here can help provide for the athletes?
I think one of the main things that have changed over the past couple of years is the training facilities that we have available. Previously, I mean, the first few years when we started off diving, we were at Toa Payoh, and it was like outdoor, we were exposed to weather, so the moment it thundered, we couldn't train. It was very disruptive, but now that
and you're sharing with the public as well.
The diving pool was actually closed off for
national.
diving. Just that it was very disruptive because every time it thundered, we couldn't train. And that would be the end of it. So the moment we actually moved over to Sports Hub, we could get a lot more consistent training in. And actually, we've started working with the strength and conditioning coach over here, Danny. So that's been good as well. So I think overall, I think we are a lot more supported now than in the past. So I think that will really help us to really get that goals in 2026, to achieve those goals in 2026. And
as a specs scholar yourself, how has the Sports Excellence program benefited you?
A lot. Because of specs, I've been able to go for many competitions, training camps, which have been very, very beneficial for Tim and I as athletes. Things that we're very, very thankful for, and it's really given us a lot of experience that we couldn't have gotten, if we weren't on the specs program.
Right.
Yeah.
Timothy, similar question to you as well. Being in the specs program, has that helped in terms of being more focused in your training and development into a top level athlete?
Yeah, I think in addition to going for training camps and competitions through the SPEC scholarship program, the support from SSI has been really, really good. Like, I think I've really developed as an athlete in the aspect of like nutrition, knowing better what I should be eating to help fuel my training. Psychology and talking about pre-competition routines before I step on the boards. What am I doing to get into the zone? So working very closely with the psychologists. We're working with Joyce, and biomechanics. Desmond usually comes down to the pool to just film like what we do in the pool and see technique-wise in slow motion, what needs to be worked on, and then we discuss with coach further. So the support from SSI has been very, very important, and we're just learning more and more on how we can continue to improve.
Okay, we just heard your brother said what he said about in terms of one element that is needed to expand the profile and development of the sport here. So what is your one element that you feel is still lacking that could help achieve the goal of a base of almost 300 divers?
I think diving still needs a little bit more recognition. I mean, like sometimes when I tell people I'm a diver, I still get the question, oh, so how deep do you dive? Or how do you swim very fast? So, I mean, hopefully, after this SEA Games and progressively diving becomes more and more well known as a sport itself. And
more media exposure.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashlee, let's come back to you. We just heard the twins state their concerns and wish list. Thus, I assume you two must also have one hope in order to perhaps see maybe more female divers come through the youth ranks?
I think so far we have quite a few female divers coming through. Like, I think it's very encouraging to see a lot of the younger ones express a lot of interest in joining diving. And I've been talking to a lot of the younger kids who come we have this thing called the TID, the Talent Identification Program.
Okay.
So there are a lot of young kids, there are a lot of girls, boys. So I think it's quite encouraging. But like Tim said, I think we just need a bit more media exposure to get more people knowing about diving. I feel that if there are a lot of people knowing about it, there will be a lot more people joining it too.
Okay. Yeah. This one, my next question, I think has a bit to do with the kids. So together with your teammate Cayenne, the both of you are the current defending SEA Games gold medalists in the 3 meters synchronized springboard event. So over the last 2 years, what's been the common reaction been towards you as you visit schools or when the Singapore Swimming Association organizes events for younger kids, who are keen to learn diving?
I think generally the children just express a lot of interest because they don't really know how diving works. So usually when we meet, if we have like meet and greet sessions, they just be very interested in finding out a lot more about diving. Of course, a lot of them will be pretty like in awe. Yeah, but I guess because they're still young. So but I think generally people have just been very positive and happy for us. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, just I think a few weeks ago we also our Team Singapore your teammate Jonathan Chan became the first diver to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. So in terms of development and paving the way forward, what do you make of Jonathan Chan's successful qualification for next year's Olympiad?
I think it's great because it really shows that even though our diving team is a very small team, we are not that high up in terms of world standards. It is possible for us to make it to the Olympics.
Yep.
And just having one teammate qualify for Olympics already gives a lot of the rest of us here like
A
hope.
boost.
A boost of confidence that for the next year's World Cup, which is another Olympic qualifying competition. So we feel a lot more confident going into it, and hopefully we will have more going to Olympics.
Mark, what is your take on Jonathan being the first ever Singaporean diver to reach the Olympics? What did you say to him when he qualified during the Asian Cup 2 months ago, the diving cup?
I was very happy for him. I think John worked very hard to qualify for Olympics, and I remember when he came into dry land, because I wasn't there at the competition, I had to leave early. So when I saw him back in Singapore, I just gave him a fist bump. I told him, good job. I remember thinking, it's been Tim and I have been dreaming of going to the Olympics for the longest time, and I think seeing John get there really told us, motivated us, to tell us that it is possible to reach there, and I think now Tim and I more than ever we really want to make our way there.
That's right. The both of you are 25 years old.
25,
right?
25, yeah.
So Timothy, seeing 22-year-old Jonathan qualify, does that make you feel even more determined to raise your own limits and personal targets?
Yeah, I think I share the same thoughts as Ashlee and Mark. It really goes to show that anything is possible. He competed with athletes from China and Malaysia, and he still managed to come out on top and qualify for the Olympic Games. So, in the same manner, we got to have that same mentality and just do everything we can to be at our best come April, which is the qualification period, and just really trust the process and put in the work.
Okay. Now, in terms of admiring a world-class diver, who comes to your mind as one of the greats, if not the greatest?
I don't think I have I can't put my finger on a specific athlete, but I have a few divers that I look at, or just top divers in general, because I think everybody has their pros and cons, so I just try and see what the guy is doing right and just pick up from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before I get their take, mine has got to be Greg Louganis, who was won 4 Olympic gold medals in the 80s, 6 world championships, and he competed in both the platform as well as the springboard events. I'm an 80s kid, so I was following Greg's following his performances on television. So Mark, what about yourself? Any specific?
I don't think I have a specific athlete as well. Like what Tim said, I have several athletes that I look at, and I just try and pick out the good technique that they do, and I try to apply it to my diving as well.
Okay.
If I had to pick one, it would probably be a Japanese diver, Ken Terauchi.
Right.
He's actually a legend in the sport. I believe he's 35, 36, and he's still diving. And actually, even though he doesn't do the hardest dives, he does slightly simpler dives, but he does it really, really well. Every time he does a dive, he'll get 8s, 8.5s,
Wow.
and that got him to the Olympics. He really qualified to the Olympics based on that list.
Okay.
So I think his technique is something that I really enjoy looking at, and I hope to apply it to my own diving.
Nice. Ashlee, is there one diver that you admire?
I think like the twins, there are also a few divers that I admire, but one of them would be this Australian diver called Madison Keeney, because for the female diving event, we usually have a standard list of dives of difficulty dives.
Right.
So for her, she does dives which are pretty high in difficulty because she's really strong and she's just really good at diving, and she's a really humble diver. So I really admire her.
Okay. Now, being a top diver requires a combination of factors that include sports science, diet, nutrition. So Ashlee, when you are not in competition mode, what sort of food or diet do you observe? And when you are prepping for a coming event, how does that change? I've spoken to so many athletes, all kinds of different stories. Let's hear what the divers have to say.
I think if I'm not in competition mode, I tend to chill out a bit more and occasionally treat myself a bit more.
With what? What exactly?
My go-to would
be...
be...
The fans want to know.
Bubble tea.
Bubble tea?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love bubble tea, chocolate, ice cream.
When in non-competition mode?
Yeah.
So when you actually get down to it, what sort of food do you sacrifice when you're prepping for games?
During competition season, I will sacrifice my bubble tea. occasionally I'll treat myself to chocolate, because like, I feel that you can't really go like intensely without having any treats, because like after all you kind of just go a bit crazy. So yeah, so in terms of chocolate I'll probably eat dark chocolate, which is slightly healthier but it's still sweet. So.
Okay. Timothy, in terms of sports science, perhaps you can tell us if that factor plays a crucial role in your overall development as a diver.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I shared earlier about how specs has impacted like me and Mark. Yeah, I think just being more aware of, like, for example, talking about nutrition, what we're eating and what it does for your training has been very beneficial for both of us. So like throughout the week, I think I eat more or less the same meal every day. I'm kind of a boring guy in the sense that I can eat the same thing over and over again.
Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, it's what my body needs. So yeah, I think you just get used to it.
Okay. Do you have to take certain supplements in order to prevent fatigue due to several hours of training in the pool perhaps on a daily basis?
Yeah, we take. Mark and I take a few supplements before we sleep every night. We take multivites, we take fish oil, and we take like some joint supplements for like my old bones. So yeah, to just reduce all the inflammation in my legs lah. Yeah.
Okay. Mark, as we approach the SEA Games in the Philippines in about 2 to 2.5 weeks, how many hours are you training on a daily and perhaps on a weekly basis?
On a daily basis, if we're doing double sessions, so it's about 2 hours in the morning, and in the afternoon it's about 3.5 to 4 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, and do you have like a pre-dive ritual just before you make that jump, especially during a games competition?
Pre-dive ritual. I mean, before I dive, I like to listen to a certain song that really is quite upbeat and gets me going. And then, yeah, so the moment it's my turn to dive, I just step up. For some weird reason, I have to make sure that my hands are slightly damp. I don't know why.
Okay.
Then I'll toss my chamois to the side and then I'll just dive.
You're going to keep the song to yourself? You don't want the fan?
Yeah.
Or maybe the artist at least? The song, fine. I mean, the artist might have several songs. Maybe the artist?
Chainsmokers.
Chainsmokers, okay.
Is he gonna say Justin Bieber?
Yeah, you never know. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
Now I understand that next weekend at the OCBC Aquatic Centre, it is the FINA Diving Grand Prix Singapore 2019 presented by 100 Plus. And at this 3-day event starting November 22nd, the both of you, the brothers, you'll be competing. So Timothy, what are your thoughts going into this final competition right before the SEA Games, and what do you hope to achieve?
Okay, I think like this year I think the diving Grand Prix in Singapore, or at least the Singapore leg, has started to pick up over the past few years. Like more and more countries are starting to come for this event, and I think like a lot of countries are actually coming this year because it's like one of the major events before World Cup next year. So they're sort of gearing up towards the World Cup as well.
Okay.
So we can expect to see a lot of strong divers at this event.
Okay.
Yeah, but for me and Mark, preparation-wise, it's been going well. As I said, recovering from the injury, and now we're back in form again.
Yeah.
So we're just really gearing up as this prep event and performing before we go for SEA Games.
Okay. Mark, will you be competing in 2 events, or just as you did at the World Champs 5 months ago? And what would you consider to be a good result just before heading off to Manila?
Yeah, so I'll be doing the 2 events. I'll be doing the individual and the synchronized event. And like what Tim said, I think this last event is really like the final prep for us to just fine-tune any technique that we're working on, and then just bringing that to the SEA Games.
Okay.
So yeah.
We're almost at the tail end of the segment. I just got to ask you guys. You guys previously competed in the 10 meters, right?
Yeah.
So have you decided not to compete in the 10 meters anymore? Or
Yeah.
it's just
So
focus
yeah,
on...
so 2013 was the last time that we competed in the 10 meters, and after the event we couldn't dive for like I think almost a month because our shoulders were really badly injured.
Right.
Because Tim and I are considered quite big for platform diving. So because of that, every time we hit the water, there's a lot more impact on our shoulders.
Sure, yeah.
So we learned that the hard way, and I think after 2013 SEA Games was when we decided that maybe we should just focus on springboard, and that's what we did.
I think just to add, like, because we actually started quite late, I started when I was 15, and for diving it's actually relatively late.
Sure.
So I think our wrists and our shoulders weren't really used to the impact, especially off 10 meter. So like it's quite funny, leading up to the SEA Games, we have to tape our wrists and make sure that it was so rigid before we hit the water so that it will reduce some of the pain from the impact of 10 meter. So yeah, as Mark mentioned, after SEA Games, we just decided to just focus on springboard.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of guts and confidence to go up there 10 meters and stand there. So what is that one thing that goes through your mind as you stand before you do the jump? Tim.
Stand before you do the jump. Like I think it's all fine. It's only when something goes wrong off 10 meter, like when you split off 10 meter and then you have to go up and do it again, you're like, okay, stay calm. You're trying to tell yourself to stay calm, but you still have to execute and think about what you need to do. And that's the hard part about diving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashlee, I understand Singapore Swimming Association is holding a tri-diving event. I think it's a tryout on November 30th. Do you have more details on that?
Yeah, so the event will be held at Toa Payoh, the Toa Payoh Swimming Complex.
Right.
It's open to anybody who's interested in diving, who actually wants to try it out, have a go at jumping on a board,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we did this before and we had quite a large number of kids who actually expressed interest, who joined, and then gradually they signed up for diving classes and they've been diving lessons since then.
So this is just a walk-in.
Yeah.
A walk-in on November 30th.
Yeah.
At Toa Payoh Swimming Complex. What is your message to those who've signed up or actually are still thinking while watching this segment?
Just come for it. I'm quite sure you have fun.
Okay. Now let's quickly touch on the SEA Games. So this is
Fourth.
fourth. Yeah, correct. You won silver medals. You won bronze medals. The gold medal still remains elusive. So I'm assuming that is your ultimate aim this time, Mark.
Not gonna lie, I mean every SEA Games that we go to, we always try to aim for the top, but at the same time I think it's really important to for us to not focus on the medals, because that will just distract you from competing well.
Sure.
We really firmly believe in those process goals, and if we deliver on those process goals, the end result will come automatically.
Okay.
So that's what we're choosing to focus on.
Timothy, your take?
Yeah, I mean, same thing as Mark, just really focusing on executing our dives and putting in the work, and then the results will follow after that.
Okay. Ashlee, third SEA Games campaign. You and Kayan are the defending champions, as we said earlier. You were granted the gold because the actual winners got disqualified due to a doping issue. So, is your mission in Manila in 3 weeks to prove once and for all you and your teammate are number one in Southeast Asia?
I think like the twins said, usually we go into competitions wanting to, every athlete goes into competitions wanting to, prove that they're the best, want to get the gold medal. But I think for this competition, Ken and I would just be focusing on our performance itself, wanting to, dive to our best and focusing on each dive, making our qualities consistent with our training. So, we are very good friends with the Malaysian team. We have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah.
So this time we'll really just be focusing on our own performances. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we've come to the end of this segment on diving, speaking to our national divers. But just before they go, I think they brought a personal item that is of significant value. Ashlee, maybe you want to tell us what is this?
I actually brought my 2015 SEA Games medal.
Oh, could you just hold it up?
So,
can you see it? Yeah. Oh, so that's your 2015.
2015 SEA Games medal. It was my first SEA Games medal, and it holds a lot of significance to me because it was my first major games. Yeah.
This is
it's silver for the women's 3 meter synchronized event.
Okay, so this was your first one.
Yeah.
Your lucky charm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Mark.
The item that I brought, actually it's an everyday item. It's actually just my headphones, my AirPods, and I listen to this everywhere I go. And it's very important to me because sometimes I find it hard to juggle, school and diving all together. Even at competitions when I'm feeling stressed out, I just tend to tune out and just listen to my music.
Yeah.
And it really helps me, So I think that's something that's very important to me, and I carry it everywhere.
Did you have a chat with the national netball team captain Charmaine So? Because last week, 7 days ago, she said the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't leave home without it. That's like her second best friend or something.
Yeah.
And she
go-to,
says when she's in that mode, she doesn't want anybody to come and disturb.
It's just a good way to tune out from everything and just think about stuff that you need to think about.
Yeah. And the artists.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Chain smokers. Tim?
For me, I got like an essential for every diver, which is like a chamois. So this is what we use to wipe ourselves dry in between dives, and
that's all. That's
all.
Yeah. Okay. So it's basically a quick dry towel. So you can squeeze it dry, Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I think every diver uses this to, as I said, keep dry, and we need to keep dry because when we do some of our movements, we need to, like, if we're doing a tuck shape, we need to grab our shin area, and it cannot be slippery. If not, we'll slip out of our dives.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, I think every diver is dependent on this.
Right.
Yeah.
Shimmy, shimmy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Ashlee, Mark, Tim, thank you very much for coming on board SG Sports Uncut episode 3. And of course, on behalf of Singapore, we wish you the very best in Manila and 2020 as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.